We are living in one of the greatest simulations in all of human history. I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that. But first and foremost, I wanted to acknowledge that today is December 21st, 2021. It is the winter solstice, the longest night of the year. And anyone who knows about the solstice knows that this is the longest night of the year and this ushers in the winter season. But I digress. I want to set that as the stage for tonight because I want you to understand that we have more or less been told what is going to come for far longer than just a year or two at this point. You know what we do on this page. We go back in time to make better sense of the present day. So what I'm going to do with this video is I'm actually going to start off by reading a quote from the original Matrix movie. Now, the Matrix movie came out in 1999, and there actually is a new movie that is coming out actually tomorrow. There might be midnight showings even tonight. But one of the most poignant lines from The Matrix is from one of the main characters, Morpheus. And people who know about The Matrix, they know about the red pill versus blue pill scene, but I'll get to that a little bit later. This line or this quote from Morpheus reads as follows. It says, "The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around. What do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters. The very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged, and many of them are so inured, so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will fight to protect it." I bring that quote up because that quote actually helps you make sense of the world around us today. But remember, this came out in 1999, and actually something else happened not too far after the movie was actually released. Many of you have heard the phrase dark winter been thrown around now for more than a year at this point. But very few people really understand what dark winter really means. Dark winter was actually a military exercise that took place in the early 2000s. And it happened in June of early 2000s. And what it was a bioterrorist attack simulation. All right. This is all going to work itself together in just a minute. But this had smallpox at the crux of this simulation. And it was a bioterror war game of sorts. All right. Now think about this for a minute. Just a few months ago, there were actually vials of a substance that was marked as smallpox that were found up in Pennsylvania. And if anyone's been paying attention to Bill Gates, he has been telegraphing for a very long time about what he thinks might happen next. And he has actually brought up smallpox in the past as well. I'm bringing all this up because they have set the stage for us over the better part of almost 20 years at this point. And if you understand the Matrix and the references behind it, you really begin to understand where we are at today. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the plot of The Matrix, it more or less follows an individual who finds out for the first time that his life is a simulation. A lot of what he's experiencing in his life is not real. And he winds up banding together with other individuals who have been red-pilled, who have come to that awakening that there is a sinister force working behind the scenes in order to keep individuals asleep. What's very interesting about Hollywood is that Hollywood is a wing of the leftist individuals out there. And what's very interesting about many of these elites is they actually operate by a very interesting code. And that code dictates that they must more or less tell you what they are going to do before they actually do it. This brings us more to the present day, right? So many of you out there have already seen the White House announcement that came out recently talking about what's going to happen for those who have not been jabbed as of now. They say, oh, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death. Bear in mind, these are the same individuals who, as soon as they were installed, did everything in their power to make people think that they were going to bring individuals together, whether or not they voted for that individual. And this just is another indicator that that is not their goal, has never been their goal. And what they want to do is continue to pit individuals against themselves on the basis of who has been jabbed or not. And remember, individuals who have been jabbed, even that definition has been changing over time. Now they're changing what it means to be fully you know what, right? And this is messaging coming from the leadership of the country. This sets a very dark precedent, but aligns very perfectly with this dark winter. These words that these elites use are very intentional. And like I said before, they are doing everything in their power to tell you what they're going to do, but do so in such a roundabout, convoluted way that you don't put the pieces together. But that's what we do here, all right? Think about this. There was another movie that came out, actually in 2000. I can't believe it's already been almost 22 years. That movie was Chicken Run. It was a claymation animated movie, and I loved watching it as a kid growing up. But in that movie, what's very interesting is the chickens, they are in this plight, right? They realize that they are going to be on the chopping block, literally, very soon. And many of the chickens in there have actually resigned themselves to this fate. Individuals who are in the movie, they're actually just sitting there saying, oh, well, I don't like gravy. I don't like this. And there's one chicken, the main character, Ginger, and she's the one who's doing everything to try to wake up other individuals and help them have that sense of urgency. But because many of the other chickens have resigned themselves to that fate, they never took that action themselves and never really had to sign on to getting out and escaping until the very last minute. Let's draw parallels between that in the present day. There's so many people out there right now who don't realize that they are on the metaphorical chopping block. I'd venture to say that over these next 320 or so days until the midterms, it is going to be an assault on all fronts, where the individuals who are in power right now are going to do everything in their power to do everything to keep people at each other's throats at all times. And anyone who cares about government and what it should be knows that government should be as small as possible. They should not be sitting there telling you, having press conferences telling you, oh, you can't get together with your family these holidays. But some individuals, like I said earlier in that beginning quote, are so hopelessly devoted to that system that they will fight to the death to protect it. They don't realize what's coming yet, which is why it is of paramount importance for those of us who understand what's going on to do everything we can to wake those people up before it is too late. Another movie came out in 2011 called Contagion. Remember, I'm telling you about these instances where Hollywood more or less has told you what to expect. That movie Contagion actually starred Lawrence Fishburne, which, kind of funny how this works out. He was the character Morpheus who said that quote that I read in the beginning. Lawrence Fishburne in this movie, Contagion, in 2011, it was a movie about a viral outbreak. And guess what the catalyst was for that outbreak? It was a bat. And I choose to believe that is not a coincidence. It is because many of these people out there, they want you to know more or less the gist of what is coming, but they don't want to play all their cards too soon. That's why I've been building towards this for a very long period of time. But I watched the press conference today from the individual who now occupies the White House. And what I found very interesting, first of all, was that, he was coughing several times, and it was pretty aggressive coughs there, but I digress. And he was more or less stating that, oh, we're not going to lock down again. That's not the goal. That's not the plan. And of course they're going to say that. Because if you tell individuals everything you're going to do, there's a higher chance that those same individuals listening to you are going to give you the metaphorical or literal finger and say, we're not going through that again. It didn't work last time. But they're doing everything in their power to keep individuals on our side, the purebloods, if you will, in a state of perpetually being assaulted so that there's no time to come up with an actual solution to try to have retribution against these individuals who are trying to keep us down and out. That is what they're doing right now. That's what they will continue to do. There's another phrase that was born from the Matrix movies, and that phrase is glitch in the Matrix. Now, a glitch in the Matrix has to do with when you see something that more or less proves to you that there's something is not right. There must be a glitch in the Matrix. There must be something wrong because I'm seeing or feeling like there is more or less of a simulation taking place. And what's very interesting is that there are those key moments. You see these glitches in the Matrix that happen all the time. You see instances where individuals, they tell you one thing, but they behave in a completely different way. And again, I talked about in the beginning how many individuals so strongly cleave to that notion of fighting for that system because they are still asleep. They'll do everything in their power to come after you instead. Brings me to a tweet I actually saw last night from an individual who was flying United. His name is Aiden Nullman. And this is a guy from Canada, and he did everything in his power to take pictures of other individuals who were not wearing their facial coverings properly in his mind, and he was doing his best to shame those individuals. Because this individual is a prime example of someone who does not understand what is coming down the line. You remember a few years ago, or not even years ago, it feels like years ago, a few months ago, when everyone was saying, oh, it's not that hard, just put on the face covering, just do this, just do that. And I actually talked about and made a video called Just, where I talked about how dangerous that precedent actually is, because it's death by 1,000 cuts. And if you get individuals high onto one thing, that in of itself is not the problem. The problem is they are greasing the skids for what is to come. And we're seeing that take place now. There's so many people who just a year ago were saying, oh, it's not that hard, just do this, just do that. And now where are we? Oh, please take their health care away. Make sure they can't go out in public. Make sure they can't go into any establishments. You don't just get there overnight. That is the insidious nature of what these individuals, these elites, have in store for you. Is they want to gradually turn people on to the notion that you are the threat and not the government or the elites themselves. So what can we do to stop this? What can we do? I venture to say the best thing you can do is to actually get out in that third dimension and begin fighting back however you can. I know you've seen the stickers all over the gas pump, but you know what? There's another thing you can do. All these QR codes that pop up, I'll tell you a secret. QR codes work based off of the camera lens, adequately mapping out all the dots that they see. But what happens when those dots actually do not or are no longer untampered with? Think about that. These are little tiny things you can do. I know it doesn't seem like much, but all it takes is you becoming a catalyst, you being someone who can be that cause of the glitch in the matrix that might make someone understand something's not right here. Because like I said before, we are more or less living in a simulation at this point. And the powers that be already know exactly what they're going to do. Another thing you can do is stay as healthy as possible. I saw an article talking about how McDonald's is going to be putting advertisements on their packaging to help individuals or steer them towards getting this jab. Because of course McDonald's cares so much about your health, right? We're living in an upside down world. We're living in the matrix more or less. And nothing more or less drives that point home than the fact that you've got individuals out there who are lining up to see the newest Matrix movie that comes out tomorrow. And in some places, some parts of the country, they're having to show their passports to do so. Some people aren't ready to be unplugged. But for those that are left, and there are a good number of them, we are the ones to help unplug them. And it happens with those tiny actions. I'll close with this. I mentioned the movie Chicken Run before. One of the best scenes in that movie is when the main character, Ginger, is actually trapped inside the chicken pie machine, all right? And you would think that all is lost. You would think that she had no hope, and yet there were instances where she was able to actually blow up the machine from within. And she was successful. That's what I want you to think about doing. There's ways that you can do that. You can blow up the system, even from inside, when you are on the precipice where you know what lies ahead. If you just take small bits of action, it doesn't take that much at all. You can begin to find ways to make the QR codes or render the QR codes inoperable or ineffective. You can obviously put the stickers out. You can engage with people one-on-one. I was talking to individuals tonight at the gym where I went to, and there were so many individuals out there who actually, they saw me, they came up to me, and they saw the shirt I was wearing. It was a Let's Go Brandon shirt, because I don't care, I'll wear whatever I want to wear. It's still a free country. But what's really interesting is there were several women who approached me and said they approved of the message of the shirt, several men even, and I was sitting in the sauna at the very end, and I had a very interesting interaction. And this just comes from you actually getting out in the third dimension. There was a young African-American male, his name was Kelvin actually, and a Hispanic male in the sauna with me at the same time. The Hispanic male's name was Miguel. And they were both in agreement with the messaging on the shirt, the Let's Go Brandon shirt. And what did that reassure me of? It reassured me that if you just take it upon yourself to be that catalyst, to try to be that glitch in the matrix, to try to help people understand that they are being taken for a ride, you never know how many other people out there just waiting for someone else to step up and actually take some demonstrable action themselves. So think about that tonight. I'm going to get back to work. I've got more videos to make before the year is over, but thank y'all so much, those of you who have watched me all through 2021. I really appreciate your support. I appreciate the stars that you've sent. I appreciate the messages of encouragement. I appreciate even the individuals out there who send me those vile, hateful messages as well, because you are proof that what I'm doing is having an impact, and you know that retribution is coming. So thank you to all of you. I look forward to 2022. Y'all have a very Merry Christmas, a safe Christmas, and a Happy New Year, and I will catch you in the next one.